Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm in Lesvos. Right, this is going to be unscripted. I've made some notes. It's mayhem. I hit the ground running. I'm going on adrenaline, little sleep. I've been wanting to come here for a few years. I've heard it's the best place pretty much in the whole of the Med, the Canary Islands, etc. for birding. Okay, so let's have a go. We're coming out of the airport and straight away, swifts and swallows. Now, as you can hear here, you might be, if this is picking it up, this is the land of wood sandpipers. I think I've seen one or two wood sandpipers in my life. Hundreds, if not a couple of thousand here, everywhere. So I got my fill. I'd seen one earlier in the day, and now I've seen tons. And you know, you start getting footage and photos of something early on in the trip thinking that might be the only one I see. No, I'm getting loads. As soon as I picked up my car, I saw a bird on the airport wire. So I pulled over. I didn't know what bird it was going to be. Would it be a lark or the corn bunting? So I filmed it doing its call. And took some pics. I've got some flight pics. I'm getting much, much braver. Most of the photos I'm taking now, if the bird's just standing still there, just, you know, I go low ISO. But if I think it's going to fly every time now, I set it up for flight shots. No, even if it's a lifer, I'm getting really ballsy. Yeah. I tried hugging the coast up by the airport way before making my way down here. I thought, I'm up here, I don't want to waste my journey back by not checking out the north and then have to go back up there. I checked this website, I'll show you the app. It gives you birding locations for all over Europe. I think it's, have I still got it on this phone? I'm using two different phones here. Birding Places EU, really good website. Gives you colours to show you if it's red, it's a real hot spot. If it's blue or green, it's less so. And I checked for here. There was nothing up that by the airport, just blues and greens. It must be glossy ibis. I can even see from this distance. Well, I'm going to film that. Right, let me just get my camera because that's a waste. Otherwise, let me go get my camera. It's right there. Okay, right, okay. Let's put this on the tripod and see if I can film myself filming, because this is the whole point of this thing, isn't it? Right, okay, is that up? Okay, right, let's see if I can get this in. I'm gonna have to ramp up the ISO. Wake up camera. Okay, let's go up to 6400. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh no, wait a minute, they're purple heron. Okay, we're gonna have to go up to 1250. Purple heron, awesome. I heard about these on the WhatsApp group. Sorry I'm shouting because that's daft, because my microphone's picking up my voice loud and clear normally, so I don't have to shout. That's mad. And I think they're coming my way. I think we might have to go to 2500. Should we zoom in a little bit? They're definitely purples, aren't they? Yeah. That's brilliant. My camera is picking them up, awesome. Excellent, eh? Okay, right, am I still in there? Yeah. So what is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, is it? That's blinding, isn't it? Wow. So, I mean, I had to ramp up my, what's that? Is that a peregrine falcon? I think that was a peregrine falcon. That's strange. There's a lone purple. I'm going to have to look on the computer. I couldn't tell what that was, what kind of raptor that was. It looks bulkier than a parrot. I'm not sure. It was flying a bit strange. Why it came up from. Wow, this day never ends. Okay, so back to the vlog. So we're up at the north side of the island. Sorry about the purple herons and the peregrine falcon probably. North side of the island, stopped at this wooded area, which is clearly marked on the map. And I did manage to get some hooded crow photos and some video. Took advantage of that where it was out of the sunlight because of the contrast, the greys and the blacks makes it hard if the sunlight's on it. and I could hear chaffinch calling throughout. I could hear greenfinch as well. Not seen them yet, neither, even though I heard a chaffinch calling really close to me. And just before I drove off, the pitch of a pied wagtail caught my attention, and I saw one. It was on the ground. I filmed it, but it was doing a call that I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure if probably the windy conditions of the UK. I don't hear it very often, but it sounded different. It's very possibly a subspecies. So, you know, I'm going to listen to the recording at YouTube. If I don't find it, somebody might be able to help me out. So I stopped outside these marshes, which I've forgotten the name of, and I'm going to keep doing this because there's so much to remember and write down that you're just going to have to run with it. I'll put them over the top. That's the convenience of editing. They told me on the WhatsApp group, because when you open it on Google Maps, it comes up in Greek. Right, here we go. I looked over, I saw a black and a white bird. Now, as soon as I saw the black bird, I've never seen one, but I knew what it was. It was a black stork. Finally, after one being in the UK, I think it was 2 years ago, and I missed it when I went to Elmley and it was somewhere else, and I left Elmley and then it landed at Elmley or went up to Norfolk. Anyway, I missed it. I've now got my black stork lifer. Thank you very much. My first lifer of the holiday. So a little egret in the heat haze, nothing to shout home about. I could hear zitting cisticola, looked over and saw ruddy shell duck resting on the ground. Now, I didn't know if these were thecklers or crested larks, and after asking the group, they're crested larks. Everywhere, all over the roads, up on the wires, everywhere. Wherever you see these larks, crested larks, singing. I took these flight shots. It was on a mound. I set myself up. It looked right. I moved my camera right. It looked left. I was trying to predict where it was going to fly to. So I got these great photos, even though tiny bit of rolling shutter, R7, you know, as we'll keep saying, maybe the R7 Mark II will sort that out. I only filmed it this time because it was a bit far, was a black-headed wagtail, a variation on the normal yellow wagtail. There's all these different subspecies, but I just filmed that because, like I said, it was distant, and I'll aim for a photo later. I don't know what happened here. I heard bee eaters, and I went, those are bee eaters, and I was trying to film this corn bunting. I looked up, saw the bee eaters, and I think my mind just said, they're underneath, they're quite far up. I won't bother. I'll wait for them to land on a post somewhere or a wire, and I'll get them later. So I carried on with corn bunting, went over the road to the bit of water in between the sea and myself. Greater flamingo, beautiful pink greater flamingo. So there's all these birds landing it. Yeah, birds landing around me and starting to make noises. Greater flamingo were just wow, yeah. And straight away with those, I saw black-winged stilts. Don't worry, I've seen them plenty of times, but good to see those. And then off to the left, little bird, wood sandpiper, I'm assuming. I've only ever seen, I think, 2 or 3. And I assumed on the size and it not being a lesser yellow legs or anything like that, had to be a wood sandpiper using my previous skill. And then I started seeing them everywhere. And then everywhere, and then really everywhere, to the point it was like it's like, 9 out of 10 birds here seem to be wood sandpipers. I'm getting my fill. Just a bit further up, a bit distant, one single Kentish plover, bit of heat haze there. And I decided now I've got to eat. I've got to go and get a gyro or something, a big protein boost, and heading back to the hotel area where the restaurants were. And I could see a raptor in the distance, but then suddenly, just out of nowhere, it came out really low with 2 hooded crows coming after it. And it's not till after I'd finished doing a bit of footage of it, it went behind the posts, struggling to track it with the wind. And then I just fired off loads and loads of shots, electronic shutter mode. And I was, almost falling backwards, but I got several shots of it. And while I was doing it, I was like, those are hooded crows. Those aren't jackdaws. Those are big birds. Look at the size of that thing. It is ginormous. I'm hoping I've ID'd it correctly as the short-toed snake eagle. So that's another lifer. And then I went to this part called the fjord, which is a bit of the water, I was told by the chap on the plane. Howard, isn't it? You can cross there. It looks like you can't. It's a bit of water, but you just drive through it. You've got to go for it. And by there were several different wagtail species. There was the black-headed wagtail. I'll just run through all the species, then I'll tell you what I was doing. I was taking flight shots. There was the citrine? I think that's it. I keep wanting to say citrulline. Citrine wagtail, and I think a grey-headed or blue-headed wagtail. And I'll just run all these photos over the top. I set it to pre-capture, so I was getting lots of flight shots. I was really happy with that. And I was getting pictures of sedge warbler. I hadn't even seen a sedge warbler in the UK yet. So I was getting pictures of the sedge warbler. A wood sandpiper landed in, but I won't even, you know what, I won't even include that because I'm going to see millions of them. And little terns, a couple of little terns. I'll just record them, show them for a record shot here. And I think I got a decent enough picture of the common tern. I believe it's a common tern. Yeah, a couple of those a bit closer than the little terns. So we're really increasing our numbers. Round the very bumpy road in the car to the salt pan, so you don't have to go all the way around. And I thought I needed to be facing the correct way out the window. So I reversed down and looked at the wood sandpipers and the stilts for better shots. And as I was reversing, I was like, whoa. What? I didn't even know, I knew it was a species of lapwing. I just didn't know that it was a spur-winged lapwing, and fired off loads of shots. It wasn't spooked, single on its own. I thought, yes, nobody else has mentioned that. I'm finding lots of birds today that haven't been mentioned in the WhatsApp group. Obviously, people will be finding stuff and won't be posting. So it's not like nobody else is finding stuff. They'll be finding stuff in their own right, but not posting. Spur-winged, so I got some video of it, photos of it, eventually flew off to this other pond. So I reversed back to see where it had gone and looked out the window, and loads of wood sandpipers again, but I was noticing some slightly bigger birds. And I was like, what the heck? I couldn't click. But I'd spoken to some Danish guys or German guys, and they said they saw some ruff over here, and it clicked. Those are ruff intermingling with the wood sandpipers. And then when I was along the southern edge here, I saw one lone common sandpiper. And as I looked out, there were avocets. So the list keeps going up and going up. So I took a little bit of footage of that through the trees, just to say I've got it. I've seen, there's lots of things. I'm going to make a list that I haven't filmed, like common shelduck, mallards. But yeah, there's bits and pieces I haven't filmed, like the collared doves as well. I've heard Chetty's warblers, great tits, and obviously all the greenfinch and the chaffinch and all that. You know, you never know. And then with the avocets, I saw some dunlin. I've seen them peppered around the place. And reversed, I think, right, you know what? I think that's it. This is epicness, all manner of epicness. Roll on tomorrow. Let's go. Let's get some rest and start again fresh.
Still yellow eggs in there, so yeah, it's just, you know, could be in that deep stuff now. It could have moved all the way over there. I don't know now. Blown up with it then.
A very good second morning from Lesvos. Oh my, what a sight. I thought I'm going to do my vlog now that I've seen this. I'm going to start the second one today because I've just come down this path from Koloni village. Just wanted to see what was at the end. I was following the river to see if there are any birds in there. We'll get to that in a second. But I'm going to turn you around now because I'm going to show you what I'm seeing. yeah, the first thing I did was I just walked around the property before I left to have a look at these house martins and I noticed there was a section, they're all over the place, but this particular section, you could see them house building. Just stunning to watch. I mean, you could stand there all day, just sit there with a coffee and watch that sort of thing, making the little nests with the stuff they've got stored in their beak. I think that's just a boy out there, a B-O-U-Y boy, that kind of boy. They just filmed them for a while and just got my fill of that. And then I went round to the salt marshes, the western section this time. I think somebody mentioned that there were birds around there, little stints, and immediately you see flamingos, greater flamingos. Everything there's nothing photography wise to keep. It's all video with heat haze. There were the greater flamingo. I filmed them flying, waiting for them to come closer so that I could get them out. The heat haze didn't happen. And all the little birds running around, people mentioned little stints, and I'm not 100% on my idea of little stints, but they definitely appear different, even in the distance with the heat haze, that they must have been some of the little stints. I think somebody counted 93. Those must be some of them. I filmed as best I could. So 93 little stints. I mean, usually I've gone to sort of all marshes to get one, if I'm lucky. I've got a couple in my lifetime and they've been at a distance. So to have, several dozen is pretty good. There was some sort of I'd say great white egret. It looked mahoosive the way it was flying. I don't know if there's like a little egret, a great white egret, and then above that, I'll have to check that out. But I'll just say I'm sure it's a great white egret. So that's another species on the list. I didn't capture them. Saw bee eaters again. I will get them. I'll get them. There'll be no problem. I'm sure I will. There were common shell duck out there, so we're getting no good photos, just a bit of video of those. Another distance one, I saw one of the hooded crows harassing a raptor. Wild guess, just a common buzzard. It looked pretty dark, probably too dark for the short-toed snake eagle. And then came down to these, like I said, I'm at where I'm at now, the top of this road. I think the blue tits are a subspecies, if I'm not mistaken, from my trip to Rhodes. And the goldfinch. And my list is now, where's my list at? I think my list is at something like 57, 58. Of species. I heard somebody at breakfast saying, are you keeping it, not to me, to someone they knew, I overheard it, are you keeping a list? I've got to get round to it. So it does, it's like people just want to take photos and I've got to be on the ball. I've got to take photos, I've got to take video, I've got to write an ongoing script, I've got to film vlogs, keep an eye on the WhatsApp group, start imagining the editing in my head. Even though I've got vlogs from the UK, I've still to catch up on. Well, this seems like a good enough place to do a catch-up vlog. Wow, another bit of beach just below the racecourse. I could see that something called Matochi Lake was just above me, and I'd seen it come up in the WhatsApp group. So I sort of headed that way. And just before I got there, at the bottom of the road, like literally 100 meters away, I could hear bee eaters. So they were in the distance, and I got off some shots. There's a lot of heat haze. I'm talking to you now before I've processed them, so I won't know just how sharp they are, but I've got a big flock of them going up. I tried to do a bit of video. I won't bother showing you. I'll show you a little bit. I'm probably going to get more. I've seen them every day. I'm seeing them several times a day. There's going to be a point where I get really good shots of them, so I won't have to worry about that. And then there's birds landing in the trees, and I couldn't tell whether it was sparrows or whatever. This one looked pretty big, and it landed. It was hard to, the camera was struggling to focus because of the harsh backlighting, and I got off some shots, pretty big bird, and I got some photos. I couldn't figure out what it was, so I asked the group. I didn't want to ask the group. I don't want to keep harassing the group for answers to birds, but somebody said great reed warbler. That lines up. It's big enough for a great reed warbler. I've only ever recorded the sound of one in Mallorca, so I've got a usable. The ones I got with the full side of the body are no good. I'll include one of those, and none of them are greatly sharp. And then one a side shot. I don't think I'll even keep this one. I might keep it, but it's just it looking back, and that's where I got a sharper headshot. Then head up to the Matochi Lake. Saw birders all grouped up. I went, oh, here we go. You have to sort of pull up, keep your distance, get a feel for what's going on. don't disturb anyone, kind of look where they're looking and like pretend you kind of know it's there anyway. And you're like, yeah, I've seen it. I'm just, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't ask any questions. And then sort of see someone looking directly who's seeing, he's seen it and look and go, what's it? And then I heard over here, little crake. I went, okay, so I've got it clocked in there. And then it eventually comes out and I get some, I think I went 4K crop because it was so distant. A lot of heat haze, but it's a lifer. And filmed it several times. I don't know what everyone else was getting because most people were using scopes and bins. There was somebody there that had one of those lenses. It's tiny, it's only that thick. It was on a DSLR or something, but it said 24 to 3000 millimeters. So that wipes the floor with my bad boy here. He'll get some great video, but still has to fight that heat haze. A cormorant went in and somebody said, oh, pygmy cormorant. So I snapped a couple of shots, nothing usable. And again, it was spotted landing off to the right on a mound. So I filmed it. Again, nothing usable because of the heat haze, but it's a lifer. You can see it's definitely an unusual looking, definitely different to your normal cormorants. And headed down to the feed, what is it? Titsanikis River, is it? I've screwed that up. I know I have. Went down there on either side. I saw bee eaters and all sorts of stuff. But the first thing I saw by the road bridge was house martins going down and collecting nesting material. And what was the bizarre behavior I found was they'd go down, they'd go around, root around for 3 or 4 seconds and all take off. Flick around in the air, flick around in the air, go down, do it again and again. And the first couple of times I thought I was looking up to see if there was a raptor scaring them off, and there wasn't. So I don't know what that behavior is. Maybe it is just to throw off any raptors that are keeping an eye on them and that they're staying there just a bit too long. Went back to the field from last night where all the wagtails were. Took my camera out, there's a snipe. Now it looked pretty big. There's a big bit of confusion and probably embarrassment here, but it looked pretty big. And I thought, is this one of these, I didn't do any research before I came here, but I knew they'd mentioned something about a larger snipe. So I filmed it for a few seconds and then I Googled specifically just Lesvos snipe, and it didn't say common snipe and jack snipe and great snipe. It just said great snipe, as if to say that's what you're going to find here. And I thought, well, that makes sense. It's a very big bird. And I put it on the group and got lots of likes. And I thought, wait a minute, lots of likes, that suggests it's quite rare. I really hope I haven't messed this up. And I've asked a couple of birders, and even though there's a bit of uncertainty, I think it's safe to say it's common. Always a couple of common buzzards. I think I've seen 3 circling up by the mountains. I'm keeping an eye out for all the unusuals, the rough-legged, long-legged, whatever. Short-toed snake eagle. I saw a black stork in the air. Again, I videoed it for quite a while. I'll take the bit with the least amount of heat haze. And then as I turned into the marsh a bit further up, back into the salt marsh, I saw lighter bits of white on it, the size of a crane. And sure enough, it was the white crane. Stork, crane, stork, black stork, white stork, storks, white storks. And I saw one, and eventually it became 3, and they were circling. So they're here as well, white storks and black storks. Excellent. Popped into that little bit of water where I saw the black spurred lapwing last night. Wasn't there. It was actually much fewer birds than last night. So it must be an evening thing where they all sort of go around that area, start building up their numbers around there and preening all the ruff and the wood sandpipers from last night. Larks singing. I'll show you a couple of them. They were a couple singing really close to the car. As I carried on further along, I saw some birders looking out. same thing as earlier. Approach with caution and just don't say anything, just go slowly and just listen to what they were saying. And then I heard red-breasted pipit. I thought, okay, well, that'll be a lifer. And then they said, oh, look, it's there. And I videoed it. And eventually, as time progressed, they started landing on the wires. And then to the point that I got some fairly decent ones, sharp, well exposed, with good exposure from the sun, not backlit. There was some on either side of the wire, but I got the better ones. And then one had a bath in the off to the side of the road, and it flew up and knows where to hide to dry up and preen. It was hidden behind all these little branches. I couldn't get a straight shot of it. Very clever little bird. And as I was reversing, this is why it always pays to keep your head on a swivel and look everywhere. As I was reversing, there was a puddle in the road and I could see something moving. It did look like the black-headed wagtail, and I was very close to the puddle. I hadn't flown off, so I braked up, put the handbrake on, got out, and it was still there having a preen. So I got my closest shots yet, loads of usable shots from every angle, preening. Then it had I got low down to the ground. I flicked the screen out, tried to get some of those with minimal success, limited success, a bit of wing blur, which suggests I need 5,000th of a second shutter speed. And then eventually it had a little bath, and it sort of had a bath, and the next thing it did when it had a bath was jump out of the water, and I wasn't zoomed out enough. So I remembered to do it this time, and it jumped up in the air as it had a quick bath and then flew off for a preen. So that's awesome. So now we carry on, and very quickly there was a bird on the fence, very small, Zitting cisticola, and I managed to get loads of usable photos. Excellent. Backlit, not as good as the ones I got in Faro from like 3 years ago, if you remember, but excellent. It's very hard to get those boys and girls. So I'm very happy with that. And then some excellent shots of a corn bunting. I'm gonna post everything I see. It lined up. It was well lit for a shot, so I fired off some shots on the side of the car. And then coming onto the racetrack, short-toed lark. So in my mind, I thought it was a lifer, but I believe I have it in Menorca as a lifer. But a couple of good shots from the racetrack here. Okay, so I think we're done. Right, second day over with. I thought I'd better do this now because we are almost out of light. So the last time I spoke to you, I finished off at the racetrack, and as I went round in front of the salt mound, somebody stopped and got out the car and pointed at something to somebody else in the car, and then they drove off. And I slowly drove by and noticed something at the back of this tree, and got it in frame, and I could see it was something coloured. Just from the colouring alone, it was different, and it was some sort of shrike. So it's going to be a lifer. Took a picture, took several pictures. None of them are particularly usable or keepable, but they're, I'll just put them up for you to see. And somebody said it's a masked shrike, so that will be a lifer. Going back along the salt pans, crew of people outside of the hide along the road. I went, okay, approach with caution. Got out there, I drove past some people. I said, what's up? They said, curlew sandpipers. Awesome. So pulled up, and there was a flock of them, I think about 10 or 12, just sat in the water sleeping. Got loads of these photos off, brilliant. I went for photos to start with the intention of them moving to film. And then I thought, let's go 4K crop and get right in there. And as I was, somehow, I don't know what was going on, I was adjusting my settings and I took my eye away from the camera and something caught my eye and went overhead, and it was a tern. But the bill was black, which caught my eye. And I didn't see anyone else moving, but I was already in photo mode, and I fired off some shots and thought, what is that black bill? So I got the shots off, and the curlew sandpipers have gone. I was talking to the guys there, they were giving me some information and stuff, and I said, can you just check this, is that a boat-billed tern? And he said, yeah, where'd you see that? And I said, look, just above my head. He said, why don't you shout for it? And I went, I didn't know what it was. Any time I see something different or new or something I don't recognize, I snap off photos and then check it. And I said, I remember it was like 2 years ago, there was one at Orr Marshes in Kent in the UK, and I went for it and missed it. Finally got it. Further along, lark. I've got to watch the lark stuff because they keep giving me layup shots, as in giving me really easy shots to take and slowing my progress. But this one had a bug, a grub, so I was working on it for a little while. And I thought there has to be, you have to film that sort of thing. And just as I finished that, I saw something walking around, moving around in the grass behind it. And it was some sort of tortoise, not one of the water ones, an actual proper tortoise. And I don't know if it's been released or what. tortoise, I don't know, tortoise. And again, black-headed wagtail, giving me loads and loads of great shots. I'm going to get my absolute fill of those while we're here. And so while I was waiting around for that, there was a strange single chirp going on around me. Eventually it turned out to be a chaffinch, male chaffinch. And I checked it up. There's no subspecies here, it's just common chaffinch. So it was in the tree, and then it went down on the floor and started picking up grubs and wasn't too bothered by me moving around. I nearly said what he was moving around and give away the location. And then there was a greenfinch, there was several greenfinch around. Calling. Then one of the chaffinch I put the tripod up and caught a little bit of song. Little thing, just a sparrow with a big bug on a fence. And the final thing for today, which makes the species 65, I'm sure I'm going to get over 100. But 65 at the moment was a great tip. So they've got the blue tits and the grey tits here. So let's go back to last night when I finished up. Kept hearing the scops owls. And then I heard about 3 of them. And you know what? I thought, get my flash gun out. That's why I brought it. And we'll go hunting and see if we're lucky. On the street, I could see a group of birders that had obviously been out for dinner. And they were up flashing their little torches into the tree. They flashed their torch on it. I fired off a shot. Here's the photo. And another one looking behind, which is sharp, but not good enough. But then something went wrong with my Canon, my flashlight, and started overexposing. That's good, because what I've done is I've learned how to manually set it so that it doesn't accidentally fire off too much light and destroy a picture. So I got a usable one. I got my first ever scops after chasing the one in Rhodes behind our hotel, Rhodes, Greece. The one that went to Broadstairs, I don't want to do any of those big twitches where there's thousands of people all there looking for the same bird with, it's just not for me. I didn't want to do it. I thought I'll get it one day, and there it was. I've got it. So I got my first owl. This is the Raptor viewpoint. This is day 3 of the Lesvos vlogs. And what time is it now? It's about 12:30 in the afternoon. I've done a few bits and pieces. I've got a heck of a lot to catch up. Apologies for the weird angle, but I have to do it here in the shade where I can keep an eye on what's going on. Went for breakfast in the morning and chatting to all the birders, updates, saw the birders from last night, because I promised them I'd airdrop them or email them a photo of the owl to say thank you very much, because nobody had their camera. I forgot to keep looking, and so I saw a couple of them. I emailed the photos to them, and they're super happy with that. They were very, very happy with it. So good. I'm trying to be as friendly to everybody as possible, because obviously everyone's going to remember everybody here. So if I come here in the future, I'll know the faces, and I don't want to be remembered for having any bad moments. So I'm trying to be as friendly as possible. Tell anybody I see of anything I see, I'm getting, hey, come over here, look at this. And so this is the point I'm getting at. Let me get this straight. So black stork for breakfast. Saw a black stork flying in, the best exposed flight shot so far, and sitting at my breakfast table. That was really, really good. So that's probably the most unusual thing, besides all the usual house martins and greenfinch around the hotel. Then went to this particular location, which I've been told about, for scops and a long-eared owl in the daylight. Went to reverse out, and there was another photographer there, big lens. And I said, oh, and are you coming for that? And he said, the long-eared. I went, oh, the long-eared, you know where it is? He said, yeah, it's usually in these trees here. And there it was. I saw it, and it was so blatantly in your face there. A layup shot, only with a slight bit of twig to the side of it here. But it was the bird shape was right there. Why were we looking so long for 5 minutes? It obviously didn't just land. Why? How were we walking past it? And I said to my wife, I called her later and I said, it was probably because I was looking for it camouflaged against the trunk, but it wasn't. It was right out on a branch. I got tripod footage on the standard 4K. There wasn't any wind, so I managed to get the tripod footage. For a little bit of the 4K crop, right up to the face, it did a brief bit of movement and a brief bit of slight eye opening, like it was just briefly checking what was going on. Cars going by, people, it didn't disturb it. And I filled my boots with lots of photos. I got close enough that I could take portrait shots. Super happy with that. So I've got the scops from last night and the long-eared, two owl species, and I've heard about a barn owl species which is nesting somewhere in the village. So hopefully I'll be getting that too. There'll be 3 hours. Let's go. On the way to the raptor viewpoint, I wanted to stop at the Matochi Lake again to see if anything was going on, because there's reports of little bittern and all sorts of stuff there. So I give it a drive by. There was some birders there, but nothing. The heat haze was crazy. Didn't see anything apart from a masked shrike, 4K crop, serious heat haze, nothing really. I think a lot of the serious birders are the ones with scopes, and they're checking the reeds for those crakes. And in that heat haze, not going to make for great photos. So they're more serious than me. They're going to be looking for rarities that I just want to get numbers right now, because this is my first time. So they're more after the rarities. So I kind of saw nothing much was going on. But just on the south of the lake, before you get in there, the bee eaters are still there from yesterday. So that's their hot spot. I took some video of them sitting on the branches by the river, and they're constantly flying around. Also, I heard the great reed warbler. Did I say that right? Great reed warbler again. So that photo I took, which I was wondering, was it a great reed warbler? It was, because here's the song. There was I think it was a whitethroat in the background. I'd recorded a whitethroat earlier, so that went on the list. But the whitethroat, I think this is the whitethroat, because it was a smaller bird. The great reed warbler, bigger. I could see it flicking around in the bushes to my left. And then as I left that area, assume it's common kestrel. I'm not going to go for any subspecies like the lesser kestrel yet until I get positive ID, because I've made that mistake too many times in the past. But it's a different bird, a new raptor to add to the list that goes on my species list. I believe I'm at about 82 species. First bird that I caught when I slammed on my brakes, cell bunting. So I've only ever seen that once before in Mallorca, and the cell bunting had a grub in its beak. Now there was a car coming up, so I couldn't take any videos. So up we went again, spun round, went back, spun round, come back again. And next up was a Eastern Orpheus warbler, blackhead. I recorded it singing, but I stupidly had it on my slow-mo, so no sound. But I got the species confirmed via another birder. But so it's pretty clear you can see there's a proper blackhead. He said it might be a whitethroat once when I described it, because a lot of people think they've got these weird warblers when it's just a whitethroat. But no, the head was very dark. And the photos I cut the beak off because I couldn't get the angle. And then up again, back again, spin around, came back. And I could see other things. Maybe there was even a Sardinian warbler, but I got a stone chat. It looks like a female stone chat. And I've been told it's not a subspecies. So it's just a European. But that goes on the list again. That bumps me up to plus 80. I heard something going on over there. Went to the tree, photographed the whole bare tree, and to see what was in it. And I've seen the pictures, record shots, but you can clearly see what it is. It's a lifer for me. It's subalpine warbler with a grub. And there was a cell bunting next to it that I tried to do the pre-capture for flight shot, but it flew when I took my lens away to see I wasn't going to step on anything and break my leg. So I missed the chance to get a flight shot of a cell bunting. It will come. And good early evening, late afternoon, folks. We're at the Ipsalu Monastery. Finally, it took us about 5 or 6 hours to get here because I just kept stopping, seeing all these great birds on the routes up in the mountains. Brilliant, yeah. I will say it's a tiny bit of a disappointment. The Birding EU app says this is one of the best spots for birds, and I've only got a few. I expected it to be heaving. As soon as you arrive, it's almost nothing. It's just the swallows flying around and chaffinch and things like that. I've got a couple of bits, but not, I mean, I've done it now, at least I know. The person I saw who did well here must have camped out all day, or it was much better in the morning, because some other people said they came here and it was dead. So I've looked and I've put the time in, and I've got a little bit of something to show you, to tell you if it's worth it. I mean, yeah, I didn't feel right filming inside it. I kind of, it's a very steep drive up, and then a steep walk up or steps. So be prepared if you have that and camera and all your cameras and all your equipment. I didn't feel right filming inside. I filmed I filmed coming in, and then I filmed once I was out the other side and on the roof. I went up to the roof at first where they have the bells. The priests let me up to the top, and I walked around, filmed, and then I went right through, and there's a door that goes out. And if you're worried of heights, scared of heights, don't go through there because there's no barrier. But I'm cool with it. I've got a healthy fear of heights. So let's just wind all the way back to when I last spoke to you. When I finished at the Raptor viewpoint, I drove up the road about half a mile just to get a feel for it. And it started to get very woody. And I thought, not going to be much up there. I got the Merlin ID out, and it identified a Seren calling. I turned it off and listened. Yep, Seren was calling. Parked up outside the Mirador area. No photographs. So I had to be careful where I was pointing my camera. And the first bird on the tree was a, don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Kretzmer's bunting. Beautiful looking bird. Eventually I got better and better pictures of it. I took pictures of it from there, from the car, and then a little bit of 4K crop video. A lot of heat haze as per usual. This is going to be a theme running through everything here. And then on the next tree along, an Eastern Orpheus bunting, again, so slightly better than my previous one, out in the open, some video, and I got the call this time where I messed it up the first time. So we're getting a bit of an improvement on all of our birds. I said I've got flight shots of the cell bunting, which is great. I set it up on a post. It landed on a post and went off perfectly perpendicular. So I got off some shots, some flight shots. They should sharpen up pretty nicely. Very happy about that. I'm really being ballsy with my flight shots, taking a chance here. So, and a video, 4K crop of the Sportbein warbler. And one single shot, which is okay, of the Kretzmer's bunting flight shy as it was coming from the, I knew it was going to go down to the ground because I'd been watching them hunt, and they feed off the ground, so on the ground. So I knew it was going down and not up. So I knew to make sure my camera went down when I followed it. Off again to Ipsalou. So I thought, so driving along the road towards Ipsalou in the, where are we, in the west? Watch that sunflare. And past this monastery, and I just, wherever I'm off to this other one. And then I saw the buildings. I went, hang on, that looks really nice. And it was Saint Ignatius Monastery. And I thought, I've got to go down. There's going to be something down there, surely. And just before that, I was saying to myself, this happened in Tenerife. I said, right, it's time for a coffee. There's nothing open anywhere. There's no restaurants or cafes. And I thought, will I find a little cafeteria? And as if the Red Sea parted, shouldn't be speaking like that outside a monastery. Anyway, it just felt like there was a helping hand from someone because there was a cafe, and get in there and have a coffee. And he didn't speak English, but he said, do you want, and I said Americano, and he showed me the small cup or the double cup, and I said, yeah, that one, the big one. And this coffee was just the way I like it, licking the bottom of an ashtray strong. So I was in heaven, and these beautiful buildings. I drove down the road, and I'd stuck the camera out the window and I was filming all these beautiful buildings. And I couldn't tell how old they were because they looked like those buildings that are designed recently, built recently, but in the old style. And so I'm just keeping an eye on all the birds here. But I could see some of them had some damage, so they could have been there a very long time. But yeah, I had a little drive around and nothing going on. The only thing I really heard was a pheasant. So that goes on the list as a herd. And I thought, okay, we've tried it, we've had a look. I got some thumbnail photos for my videos. And I was driving up I was filming it all the time, filming as I was driving up. On the left-hand side, there's all these kind of rocks. And a bird flew out past the front of the car, just like the shrike did when I went to Fuerteventura a couple of years ago. It was like I was leaving, it was giving me a little sign, and it had a white stripe on the back, and it was dark, and I didn't know what it was. And it landed on the rock, and I was grabbing the camera, and it was one of the wheatears, the black-eared wheatears. And I took some shots, distance, heat hazed, and flicked a video. And what I got a few seconds of usable video. The video was slightly better. As I was coming up, I heard the sound, a familiar sound, and it jumped up, redbreast. I thought that's got to be a linnet. It was obviously had a bath because it came out, and but it was behind some reeds, and it was preening and fluffing up. So I managed to film it. I managed to do okay. And sometimes a little bit of reed movement in front of it looks very natural, doesn't it? Adds to it, even though you might think I don't want it. That was nice. So all of these are going on the list. My list, I think I'm in the mid to high 80s at the moment. So I would have liked 100 species by today, but we've got maybe an hour and a half. If we go back on the roads we came, we might get lucky. Oh, and yeah, once I left there, went up into the hills, first thing I saw was checking everything, pulled out my little binoculars so I didn't have to lift my camera, but a dark back turtle dove. Heat haze again, but little one to go on the list. And later on I did hear one purring. Finally, we're going down, turtle dove, warbler in the bushes, and the subulpine warbler gave me my best photos I've got of it yet. It was collecting nesting material, so I was trying to get a flight shot. I got one from a distance. I'll include it. I'll clean it up a little bit, see how it comes out. But the straight shots from the car where I don't have to crop much, they're going to look ace, as you're seeing them now. Yeah, they're going to sharpen up really nicely. And just past that, a bird took off and went behind a tree. Luckily, a shrike again. Luckily, it landed on this hole in behind a tree. A branch was in front of it, but I managed to, for ID purposes, got some sharp shots. And then it flew out and landed. I got some better, more out in the open shots. None of these are pin sharp, but I got a little bit of 4K video, and that's apparently a masked shrike. So the masked shrike I got yesterday, which was behind a bush at the back, and it's terrible. It's not a keeper. It's just for ID purposes. I've vastly improved that one. So I was super happy with that one. So 2 shrikes there. This is the area. I've taken screenshots of the area. And that area then next along, there was another bird in the tree. I thought maybe a female of the wheatear, but it wasn't. It was another searle bunting, big old bird. But I think because it was preening, it was all fluffed out. And it just let me pull up next to it. It was chill as. All the searle buntings there have been really chill. Yeah, right. And then when back to where I said I walked through to the other side, the first thing I saw, heard some commotion on the right. And there was a tit that looked like a marsh tit. And it was joined by another one on this metalwork, and I could see it had a grub in its beak, took off and landed on this wire, and took some photos, and it went down and landed searching for some more grubs to shove into its beak. So I thought, what kind of tit is that going to be? Put it through to the Merlin, and it was saying something, a chickadee, and I went, no, that's in America. So I typed in manually the location I'm at, and it said sombre tit, and I've heard that somebody say SOMBRE. So that's a new species for me, a blue rock thrush. I couldn't get any good photos of it, and I don't have to worry because I've got astoundingly good photos from Menorca. If you look at my Menorca vlog, one of my top 5 photos of all time, I'll put it up for you, where I've got the male and the female doing the male passing his food to the female, and they're touching beaks as they push through. I wish I'd kind of filmed that moment, but because I would have liked to have filmed that actual bit of behavior instead of just in photos, but the photos pin sharp. And what was happening was the male was passing all of its food to the female, because one bird can only fit in the nest, the hole in the rocks at one time. So he gave it to the female, and that was brilliant. I'm not going to better those photos here. So I got a record photo, really heat hazy with 2 grubs in it. And then the wheatear made a noise. Black came back, landed on the post, and I got brave and set for pre-capture, watched it look left, watched it look right, lined it up, and it took off. And I got 2 takeoff shots. They put pretty decent. They'll sharpen up really nicely. Look at those. So I'm getting, I mean, it's getting to the point where flight shots are the new norm for me. I've got to have flight shots. When we left the monastery, went down the other side, it's one way up on the right and one way back coming down. So you don't have that dangerous situation of 2 cars meeting, coming the wrong way. And a yellow bird flew past me. Had to be the golden oriole. Let's get that right. Eurasian, because if you go to the Central America, the Caribbean, you're going to see the orioles, the yellow orioles from over there. So I got out hoping to get a photo, but all I could hear, I had to listen to the call on YouTube and use Merlin and confirm. And what I did is I recorded some of it for you. There's 2 lots of audio there. There's one which is a kind of a song, and another one which is quite rough sounding, you know, a bit aggressive sounding. And first thing I saw after about 5 minutes, big old grey heron, like a Lancaster bomber coming down the road, you know, straight at me. So I whacked on the brakes, got out, and as you can see, the photos are from behind. Kretschmers? Oh, let me get that right. Have I said that wrong? How did I pronounce that? The Kretschmers bunting. But this one was singing, and I was able to get the call on the Merlin app, and it was telling me it was an ortolan bunting. So I thought, did I get the first one wrong? And that was an ortolan bunting too. I've studied the images. They're both here. Both of those birds are here. Merlin ID'd it. And it does look slightly different. The ortolan bunting looks a bit more kind of stockier and a proper bunting beak. Definitely the ortolan for the final one. I'll have to study those closely, but I think I'm pretty correct on both of those being separate. Again, I will say, obviously, there's going to be the odd mistake. One of those will be what was the thing? Yeah, a rough-legged buzzard. I've been taking pictures of anything I see, just in case. And this was another raptor, and all I could do was take a picture to see if it was anything. And I noticed the legs were rough, very, very feathery. And it went right up, and I checked ordinary common buzzards, and their legs are bare. So when I see some birders tonight, I'm going to get them to give me a confirmation of ID. And just a little thing I wanted to put, when I was leaving today, a farmer was taking all of his sheep through the village. They've got so many sheep on the island, so lamb must be on the menu. I had some lamb last night, so I assume, yeah. I've just thought of the thing from my big fat Greek wedding, where he says, I'm a vegetarian. And say, what do you mean you don't eat no meat? Okay, I make lamb. I get it now. Okay, yeah, there are sheep everywhere, and they're black, brown, and white. And you see them either going around with the bells on or sleeping. And as I was, basically the whole drive, multiple black-eared wheatears, but loads of blue rock thrush. I haven't got any good photos of them. And then every sort of 3 miles, a stone chat. And when I finally pulled in to get some fuel, there were 2 swallows on the wire looking slightly different, and I've been hoping for some red-rumped swallows sitting still, and I got them 2 by the petrol station, and you can clearly see how different they are to ordinary swallows. And they were nesting inside. They were flying into his garage and coming out. So and I remember when we got to the airport, where before we went outside, there were swallows flying inside the building and flying back out. It was great. It's so wonderful. Afternoon, folks. Fourth day on Lesvos, and it was a heck of a start and a heck of a finish last night. Obviously, I finished the vlog last night, and I said if anything happens, I'll let you know. My intention was to see if the barn owl would show up that was mentioned going into a chimney last night. So I leant against the wall and I put my camera up. I was looking through and I just saw a flutter of white, and my instinct, bang, it hit the shutter button, flash. And I'm like, what happened? I don't even know what happened. I looked and I'd got it. Yes, I zoomed in on the picture. There's a bit of blur on the wings. The underside, the legs are pin sharp, and I just missed focus on the beak, but I'll take this shot. I got it all in frame. I will take that shot any day of the week, no problem. I'll keep that shot. And I'm in a forest, which I'll get to in a moment as to what I'm doing in here and why I can't really talk about why I'm here. Anyway, so checked on the long-eared owl again this morning after I left. Still there. Now, there's a scops owl nearby as well, which I haven't seen. I was shown a photo on someone's phone of the bit of tree, the trunk it's in. So I kind of remembered the V shape to look out for. And I went to walk away and I saw a bird up in the tree sort of flicking its wing out a bit. And I went, it was facing away from me. And it's collared dove. And I was like, I don't know, something that seems really thick for a collared dove. And I put my camera up to it and I saw the back wing feathers had some pattern on them. I went, that's not a collared dove. And then suddenly the head turned. Yo, long-eared owl, chick. What? How lucky is that? Now, to fight off some photo quickly, made sure I got it because it was a really tough angle. It knew exactly where to stand. And so you couldn't get a perfect view. I had to sort of choose little gaps in the trees. And as I was taking more pictures, I turned away and went back and went, wait a minute, why is it? It turned around really, really quickly. So it was another one. Couldn't believe it. What the heck? So I didn't know what to, so I quickly fired off as many pics as I could. One was slightly further ahead than the other, so really difficult to get both in frame. And I thought to myself, is this a secret and I've stumbled on it, or did I discover them? Surely I couldn't have discovered them. I mean, the birders have only started coming back here on the same plane that I did. Other people showed up and I said, I asked them first, do you know about the long-eared owl chicks? No. So I showed them. They were looking for the scops owl as well. Now, they knew the sort of area the scops owl was in, the tree it was in apparently. So I clocked where they were looking and they were all coming back saying they couldn't find it. I thought, okay, it might show up soon. I had to walk around the area to see if it was randomly sitting somewhere, because they said near this area they've just been sitting on walls or fences while people had been around. Wow, okay. So I went over to this tree anyway and I looked at it and I thought, that crack in the tree, the V shape, looks familiar. And then I could see some kind of light grey bark inside. I thought, that does look like that picture I sort of remember seeing on the phone. Camera up, that's it, I found it. So I had to quickly tell everyone, and they were looking and I said, oh yeah, okay. I bought a laser pointer. I asked my wife to get me a laser pointer for a present last year or something. I finally got to use it. I didn't point it at the bird. What I've been doing, and other people saw me do it, was something else showed up in a minute I'll get to. And what I do is I point it sort of 6 inches below the bird and say, look, 6 inches above. Obviously, I'm not stupid. I want to blind the bird. So that's what I've been doing, and everyone's been cool with that and happy with the laser pointer, thinking it was a really good idea. But as we were standing there, something landed, and good that they were there, because I dropped my guard and I would have ignored this as just a hooded crow. But as soon as it landed, even in the silhouette, they said, great spotted cuckoo. It was like, yo, okay, I need that. I was prepared to go all the way to this reservoir in the north where people had seen it, where it's known to be there. So I didn't have to go in the end. I got it on my local patch. So I got some shots, a bit backlit, these ones. And obviously I was hoping for it to go. It stayed there for about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And tried going around to the back of the tree onto the roadside so I could get it coming in with the light on it. Couldn't see it. Then it moved to another tree near the road where it was in dappled sunlight, not great for photography. And we were all looking at it, and then it flew off into the olive grove. So I went round to, they said they'd sort of had enough, and they went to the cars and drove off, and I went round to the olive grove. I just thought I'd have a little look, and as I walked round to the other road, it took off. I couldn't take photos, it was flying away from me. But it landed in a tree too far for photos, but not for my 4K crop. So I got videos of a great spotted cuckoo. Happy days. And the 4K crop held up pretty well. The image stabilizer didn't fight me too much. So I was hoping maybe they'd see me, and I look back every so often to sort of say, yeah, I've got it, but they were gone. Set off again for the river and the salt pans, and driving on these back roads, masked shrike. So my best shots of a masked shrike so far. And went onto the river, saw bee eaters and some bits and pieces. Nothing. I drove down the right-hand side before I went down the fjord, all the way to as far as I could get to the sea. But you get to this, and it didn't look like much was happening. I could see a couple of pygmy cormorants further down. I still can't get good photos of them because they're always distance or video. This video is very heat hazy. I had a look on the track that looks like you could go down further to the sea, but it looked a bit, I might scrape something under the bottom of the car, so I didn't risk it. I thought, no, call it a day. I'll get down there and there'll be nothing there. I'm not going to make a fuss. I didn't see anything on the WhatsApp groups about anything happening down at the mouth of the river. Crossed over and briefly saw a reed warbler. I assume a reed warbler because I'll just, as I go back a little bit, this reed warbler type bird was singing, but it caught my ear that it didn't sound like a reed warbler, and turned out to be where are you? Eastern olivaceous or olivaceous warbler. And that would be a lifer. And I got it, I confirmed it. I've got the recording, here it is. And I confirmed it on Merlin that it was definitely not a reed warbler with that call. There's these nuthatches called, I think it's croupers, I'm not sure how the pronunciation. I saw somebody post that there were two spotted in a forest. And I was going to name the name because I said on the WhatsApp group after he said the forest that I'd stopped on the road because I saw some birds take off. And I saw birds jumping around in bushes. So I got out to see if there were anything unusual. And when I did, a bird landed in a tree. And I thought, that must be that nuthatch. And I got off a really rubbish shot. Here it is from a distance. I got some more before it, but I couldn't fire. I wasn't getting sharp shots because there was a tree trunk in the way with its tail stuck behind the tree trunk. So my camera wasn't focusing properly. So I took some pics, and I took the pin from Google Maps. And I said, I just saw one too, here. Thought nothing of it. And then as I looked back and I'd stopped for a coffee, the message had been deleted by admin. And I thought for a while, what exactly did I say? The guy before me posted that he'd seen them in a forest. So it's well known. I'm going to be careful because I don't want to upset anyone. It's well known what the forest is. I'm not going to say it because I'm not going to be the one blamed for it. But it's a well-known forest for these. I saw it beforehand, before I came here, on multiple sites and vlogs. I messaged and said, why was my message deleted? And they said, because they're a protected species. And somebody else said, because a nest was damaged. And then somebody else said, no photos of nests on the site. Okay, cool. So I need to know this stuff is important. I didn't know it was that big a deal. But I still wondered why a random nuthatch off the side of the road, actually not in the forest. It's actually further down from where the forest was, where I saw it. And it was random. It wasn't going in anywhere. It was jumping on trees and then eventually disappeared off into the distance. I didn't think there'd be anything weird about that on the WhatsApp group. But there you go. I don't want to wind anybody up, but that's why I'm not mentioning anything. I'm staying quiet. I came to the forest. I found the nuthatch, and I'm just trying to be super careful with the fire. I got loads of good photos because I tried taking flight shots. I got some flight shots, but the one part of the wing is showing a bit of something that might give away something else. So I'm trying to be super careful. If I can crop flight shots, I will, just to show you the bird. Whew, it's scary. Okay, so we got the croupers, whatever, however you pronounce it. And yeah, so there you go. I hope I've not given away anything. I've tried to point my camera away from anything that gives away location. And we're just in a forest. Again, like I said, it's easy to find online if you're really desperate to, but the exact place in the forest, you'll have to come searching if you're that desperate to see it, okay? As I pulled into the beginning of the forest and got out and made my way looking for the nuthatch, I heard a call, which I'd heard before, but I'd completely forgotten. I quickly got the Merlin app out, and it was a serin, and quickly found it. I didn't see the one 2 days ago, but I saw this one clear as day. White out background, but a pretty good angle, and took some handheld video, some photos, and there was no wind, so I switched to tripod. And yeah, I didn't realize how black the back was. That must be the breeding plumage, and got some really cool, really clear song, or call. I don't know which one it is, call or song. And then switched to photos and got off what I could. Not a great angle, but some of those will come out nice with doing a wing stretch. I had to up my shutter speed because I was starting to get blurred photos. You could get into that habit of sticking to lower ISO and lower shutter speeds for quality, and then you start getting blurred images, and you have to find that balance of how much ISO you're willing to sacrifice. Remember earlier I said I thought I'd heard a long-tailed tip, and sure enough, there was one in the tree. I don't know if it's a subspecies. I think it says somewhere online it's some sort of subspecies. I'll confirm and put it on the bottom in the Latin. I believe it's subspecies out here. I sort of know the tree creeper sound if someone points it out to me. Very, very light, shrilling call. So I followed the sound into the wood, and something flew across and landed on a thin tree like this. And it was round the back. And it sort of popped around. I fired off loads of shots. None of them are 100% sharp, but I'm about 95% a couple of them, because I was too slow a shutter speed as it was moving. It would have been good if it sat still, but it was moving up the trunk. But I confirmed it via the Merlin ID, and it is a short-toed tree creeper, which is another lifer for today, or for the trip, which is great. And a bird flew past me going the other way, which looked like some sort of a shrike or something. And sure enough, I saw it through some branches, so I took some pics, moved forward a bit more, took some more pics, and then I got closer and closer and closer and closer, and I set for flight shots, but it would not take off. I mean, if there was a bird that was the definition of cool as a cucumber, it was this one. And it was taking so long, I thought, okay, so I flipped my lower ISO and shutter speed to get some nice shots, photo, and then I got the flight shot, the still shots at the lower ISO, and then flicked to video for 4K, standard 4K this time. I've completely forgotten to add that between the forest where I saw the nuthatch and this shrike, there was the leucistic woodchat shrike people had pointed out. It was in the distance, but I'm taking the word of other people that it's a leucistic woodchat shrike. And then I saw an actual woodchat shrike. So things are really picking up now. And I've been going down a couple of dead ends just to see if anything's going on, any random things. And sure enough, there's some sort of a small kestrel type bird going around as a dog's barking at me. And I know something's different about it. I fire off shots. I'm hoping for an Eleanor's falcon, but it turned out to be a red-footed falcon, which I've got at Elmley. So it ain't a lifer, but I'm going to have to check what the plumage is, because this looks slightly different plumage to the one I saw in Elmley. It's not male. Male, well, I don't know, but male usually has a slate grey back and appearance, so I don't think it's male. And then I'll always take the opportunity. There were some larks on the fence, so I set up for flight shots and got a couple of decent ones with not too much rolling shutter, so I'll be keeping those. Those are pretty good. And then just coming along the main dual carriageway, a flock of blackbirds. I thought, are they the herons, the purple herons again, or the crow or something? But then it turned out, I thought it might be glossy ibis, and it was 21 glossy ibis. I got a bit of video, and I told the group that they're heading southwest. And yeah, I lost them around this building. And as I was coming up to this village, I saw them ahead of me. So they must have gone right around, because I counted, it was the same 21. Had gone around and went over my head. So I mean, yeah, it's picking up at this time of night. So I don't want to be doing the last hour and a half tonight hungry. So I'm going to get fed in advance. Okay. Oh, mad rush. My wife said to me, enjoy your holiday, when I was coming here. And I said, this ain't a holiday. I'm going to be working. I'm not working as in for a job, but I'm going to be putting in so much effort. It's basically going to be work. So the sunset and a lovely little finale. Chap in there was mentioning Dalmatian pelicans. I've yet to sort of get them in reach. I still had to go 4K crop and only get 2 or 3 seconds at a time before the image stabilizer kicks in. How are we doing? We're moving, they're leaving me alone. So Dalmatian pelicans goes on the list, another lifer. I think I might be at 108 species now and 25 lifers. Yeah, it's on that phone, so I'm not sure. Suddenly this place is kicking off. Yeah, yellow wagtails. Let's just go back, do a circuit of the salt pans, and I just saw some stilts flying, the black-winged stilts. I tried to capture those in flight. And then down to the pump house pool again, which is good for the ruff and the spur-winged plover. Now, everyone's calling it a spur-winged plover. I call it a spur-winged lapwing. But everyone's saying, yeah, it doesn't matter what you call it. Some people this, some people that, but everyone here is calling it a plover, so we'll stick with plover. But I think it looks like the southern lapwing from the States and the Caribbean, if you're American. And that, yeah, so I got some other more great shots, closer shots of it this time, even closer if you can believe that. And I videoed it, took a little bit of film and hunting, and with its lovely reflection in the water. And then the ruff were feeding. And it was actually, I was being thrown off a bit because there were 3 sizes of birds. And I think this is the mistake I've been making. I've been mistaking some little stints with the wood sandpipers. I've been wondering, I didn't want to ask anybody. I'm like, why are there 2 different sizes? Are those the juveniles? And then my brain kicked into gear that the little ones running around are the little stints, and there are dozens and dozens of them in all the different pools. Sometimes they're not in one, but they're in the other. Cute little things, so they obviously stand out as little stints. I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference. I wouldn't know if one of them was a temic stint. Some people have said, oh, I can see a temic stint, so I don't see it. Reverse back, and as I did that, this bird, a warbler type bird, landed right in the tree in between me and the fence, bold as brass. And I had to really quickly manually focus. My camera didn't want to focus automatically. Fired off a few shots. I mean, you wouldn't actually know there was a fence there. It focused through pretty well. And I thought, it's got a reed warbler maybe, but round here there aren't any reeds. And maybe it's one of those eastern Olivaceous. I don't know how to pronounce it. I should look that up because I'm here to provide you information. But I know it was because when it was in the tree, it started singing, hit the Merlin app, and it confirmed it. And here's a little bit of audio. So you can hear it's very different to a reed warbler. And then further down, I could see the wind chats coming out onto the road and on the fence. Boom. So I sort of swerved the car to the left and then to the right. I better hurry up and finish this and get the Merlin app on that. Are those crakes or something? Wow. And let me just quickly do this then. And so, yeah, I filmed it looked like 2 males and 2 females jumping up on the fence in the track. And I took what video I could and got lots of decent pictures. And yeah, I wanted the male, and I mean, I got plenty of the female and some video. And then I went around the racetrack and the male landed on the fence, beautiful. And I filmed it for about 20, 30 seconds, you know, in all its glory. And it wasn't too panicked that I was there. And I thought, okay, I've done enough filming. I should be taking a picture, because I don't think I've ever got a wind chat this close before. A male anyway, like frame filling, and it flew off just as I switched. And I got it on the next fence along, on this fence from the track to there. And it's almost as good, almost. You wouldn't be able to tell unless I told you. Right, I think, yeah, that's it. I've got to get in and get my windows up. This is crazy. I'm going to be lumps and bumps when I get in today. We did it. Oh, we did it. All right, and tomorrow, folks. Good afternoon, folks. The end of day 5. The most manic day of my birding life so far. Whoa. Right, this was a mad push to get this done. I had to get to the top of this hill. So off to Sigri, but I thought, let's stop at the Mitochi. I heard someone call it Mitoki. I don't know which one it is. The Mitochi Lake, just to have a quick look and then have some breakfast afterwards. Because when you wake up, sometimes you're not in the mood for a big breakfast. So I popped off to the lake, got some coffee, put it in a flask and plotted up. There was another birder there on his own, Lee. Hi, Lee. Nothing much was happening. This literally the second he left, 5 squawko herons appeared. Whoa, so excellent, that goes on the list. I got loads and loads of footage of those. I'll just put it up for you now. And this vlog's gonna be very messy because I'm doing it last minute. I've got so much to put in, I've forgotten stuff. I've tried to write as much stuff down. So it'll kind of just be me talking, then I'll say, right, here's the footage of the birds and the photos. So squawko herons. And then I saw the back of a little bittern going up the reeds, inside the reeds, not like the squawko heron that were outside in the reeds. We searched and searched, and eventually it did come out, and it was hanging with the squawkos. A lot of cloud today, so this was going to be good if I could get any birds at the lake. Perfect lighting, because harsh lighting has kind of destroyed a lot of the stuff recently. But the little crate came out, and I got some decent footage of that going through the reed edges. Over on the tree on the right side from the viewpoint, spotted a turtle dove. Couldn't film it, a hoopoe went over, that goes on the list. And then one of the black-headed jays, the subspecies from down this way, went over on the northern part of the lake, which obviously I said I couldn't film, but I've got them from roads. Then a purple heron appeared and landed in the tree. It catches your eye because it's a big gangly thing, and it sat in the tree, and I kept preparing for it to take off and fly, but it didn't. So I just took some photos and some video.
Quite a nice pose for that heron.
Finally saw the little grebe that was amongst the squawko heron up to the right. I think that about covered everything. So we left the lake and there was a bird singing. on the road to Sigri. It stopped several times. I think this might be a female Sardinian warbler, I'm not sure. Multiple black-eared wheatear, and female this time. I got this brown one this time, which I thought was a different species, but apparently it might just be a female or immature. So this happens a lot when you think, that must be a lifer, it looks so different. As I saw the Ipsalu monastery coming up and loads of cars parked outside, I thought, you know what, I can't come all this way and at least do a circuit. Now, when you go to the Ipsalu monastery, you go up the right side one way, go around and come down the left side one way. Not great quality, some of these, they're just record purposes. The wood warbler, which I've got in Greece, and some better shots, but these were just record shots. A couple of semi-usable ones in there that I'll definitely be keeping once I've cleaned them up a bit. A pied or collared female flycatcher. Now, I need a collared flycatcher to be a lifer, and the pied and collared look identical, so I don't know. It's a record picture. If any expert can look at it and let me know, that'd be very, very handy. And a spotted. Our friend, the spotted pied flycatcher, spotted flycatcher. And then the golden orioles were making a racket and flying all over the place. People were pointing, there it is, there it is. And eventually it landed in the trees, a couple of tree lines in, and we saw it bouncing around, and I was able to get off a few shots, not great, but one particular one where I got the head out is about 95% sharp and be able to clean that up quite a bit. And so I got it. Yes, it's a weird bird to see on this side of the world. You usually expect to see stuff like that in Asia or Costa Rica. But I was chatting to a couple of birders who said they've seen my channel and they followed me. And the lady with the scope and the glass, she actually spotted the golden oriole, and then she spotted a crag martin. I wasn't even looking for them. So she's as good as they get. Well done. Thank you very much if you're watching this. That was a really good spot. Yeah, it's good to have multiple pairs of eyes like that. And went down, I thought, okay, we better get going. And I could hear the cinereous, if that's how it's pronounced, bunting, which would be a lifer. So it was just heard. There you go. And I was heading back to the car, and I saw wheatear, something moving around, which I thought was a cinereous. Apologies again if it's pronounced incorrectly. And these were very light wheatear. I thought surely they can't be variations on the black-eared. And it turns out I put it through Merlin. It said the Isabelline wheatear, which I've heard people talking about and it's sought after. And I asked a guy who was, I think it was a Spanish bird. I've seen him a couple of times, and he confirmed. I went, yes. And he said, if you go to the car park, you'll get better views. I didn't see them again. But when I went to the car park looking, somebody said, have you seen the rock nuthatch? No. So went back up, walked up a bit, left the car there, and literally it was straight away, got the rock nuthatch on this pointy rock, got off a few shots, a little bit of video, then it was gone. So it was literally lucky I got it at that point. Where were we? Rock nuthatch, right. And then I saw a bird jumping around. I should have recognized the call. It was a common linnet. Just a quick shot of that. And then it was corn bunting with grub. Yeah, so yeah, on the way to the petrified forest, which was before Sitri. Have I even said that? Sigri, sorry, I thought I said that wrong. On the way to the petrified forest, corn bunting. I check every bird, and I know it's corn bunting, but I could see something in its beak, and it was a big grub, and they're known for grabbing big grubs with those big beaks of theirs. Slow drive along the road out was good for the black-eared wheatears, as per usual. They're just, you're going to get no shortage of those. It's just getting that really close shot is going to be the difficult one. Now these Chetsmas if that's the correct pronunciation, are really good. They let you get super close. A couple of times I've been able to pull up with the car 3 feet away off the fence and yeah, frame filling photos. Stone chat as well. There's stone chats. Everything out here is on the roads are black-eared wheatears, corn buntings, larks, crested larks coming out of your ears. And then I got my best short-toed snake eagle photos. First of all, I got to Sigri and I started doing this loop road back up where I stopped and had a bit of food before coming back out into the main road. And when I stopped on that road, I could see 2 raptors flying over. And I thought I got some, I mean, I got no way they're beating the pictures from, what was it, 3 days ago. But I got the pictures to confirm they were the snake eagles and not some other raptor, because there are so many raptor species, subspecies that I'm yet to get. So I checked on those and they were the snake eagles. What do we got here? Yeah, and then my best yet, black-eared wheatear landed on a rock and it let me get, I think it was because I was already stationary that I didn't scare it and I was able to get a frame-filling photo to play with the exposure. Because of the black and white makes it a really difficult bird to expose for. Then as I was going back round to Sigri on the main road, I saw the snake eagles again. And I was trying to film with the 4K crop and one went into a dive and I tried to follow it. Impossible. It went into a dive like a peregrine falcon and it went down. I went, it's got to come back up. Jumped into the car, sped down there and it was already starting to circle. And I thought, right, it's a big bird. It's going to have to build height off the thermals. It won't just flap and flap. And I fired off. I got some super terrific shots of this thing circling and going up. But I got overzealous, a very big bird and a focal length of 1280 millimeters meant I cut off wings on some epic shots. What I'll do is I'll include them to show you, but literally every single shot I took where I snapped maybe 30, 40 shots, everyone was razor sharp. So I'm going to select the best ones. I won't keep 30, especially with the wings clipped. But what a spectacular bird. That's topping the list so far of stunning birds. Started making my way along this coast road. It looked like a road on the map, but I looked at it, as soon as I approached it, I went, that looks a bit gravelly. I thought, but I just saw a car go up that way. And I thought, okay, let's just go up and just see how bad it gets. Once it gets too bad, we'll turn around and come back. Started heading up there and woodchat shrike off to my left. And it was an okay shot. You know, I'll probably keep that one. And because it was on a fence with a grub. 50 feet further on, there was one on a tree by the right-hand side of the road. Backlit, got frame-filling photos, adjusted so it wasn't so backlit, but then it went to the back of the tree and I drove further on to make sure the light was to the left of it, so it was exposed with something in the background so it wasn't backlit as much. I don't know, I'm apologizing in advance because we're now pretty much in the dark and I'm relying on my torch. I'm hoping it looks good, but if I can finish this tonight, it's going to save my life. I saw a falcon of some type to the left on the hill, and it was amongst some gulls, but then I went, there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one. So the story goes that there's a flock of about 20 to 25 falcons, and they turn out to be at least lesser kestrels, because I've got the grey-head ones, but there are plumage differences that make it difficult to tell apart from common kestrels. The underside, I'm going on the underside, so I'm going to have to study some images online of the different plumages. They could be all lesser kestrels, or there could be lessers and a few commons in there. And I'm saying that it might not be all lesser because an Eleonora's falcon was going through. I didn't know it was the Eleonora's falcon. I was just, any one of the birds that came close to me, I photographed. I just fired off as many as I could when it was more frame filling. And I checked back and I went, right, lesser kestrel. Look, there's a grey head. That's definitely my first ever lesser kestrel confirmed. Lifer. Bang, 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 going through. And then even though I've never seen one in the flesh, my very first Eleonora's falcon, I was really worried I was going home without seeing one. I wanted a roller and I wanted an Eleonora's falcon from this holiday. And I got the Eleonora's falcon, razor sharp, beautiful. My heart is singing, and it's almost like it wanted me to go this way. It was guiding me because it said, don't turn around. I'm going to give you a little bonus here. At this point, I got to the top of this hill, and I could see over the mountain or the hill to the sea, and there was an area to U-turn, and I thought, this road looks like it's getting slightly better, and I could see the rest of the road. It looks not bad. First things first, the redback shrike, suddenly everyone's been asking, have you seen a redback shrike yet? So here they are. There was probably 2 or 3 on this fence to the left, a bit distant, but sharp enough. I'll keep that. They kept popping up, as well as woodchuck shrikes. Strangely, this area didn't have any masks, as far as I know. Just bang, there it was, a roller on the side of the road. Now I will keep these photos, there's nothing wrong with them. They're sharp, I'll be able to upscale them a bit. That's a good shot. So I'll have to look at them. I know I've got one really, really good one. I might keep a couple of others from different angles. And then I put the 4K crop mode on and 4K and did some filming just for the sake of seeing it move. Right, at this point I am on the high of highs. I got my Eleanor's falcon, and then my next, well, not my next bird because I got the redback shrikes, but pretty much the next bird was the roller. I got the 2 in the last half an hour that I wanted for the whole trip. And I'm just, the short-toed snake eagle, amazing photos, lesser kestrels, Eleanor's falcon, the oriole on the mountain, on the Ipsalu monastery, just an absolute bliss. And it wasn't to end there. I check every bird, even though pretty much every bird on a wire is a corn bunting. I checked it, and it was singing, it had a weird song, and it was yellow. I thought, that's good. And a black-headed bunting. And then I took some video. Obviously, I'm going to take some video. I had to really hold my breath. It's almost filling the frame, but let's get right in there. Night, folks. Enjoy the footage and the photos. So at the moment, I'm on a road just past the Raptor Point, which I didn't see anything except some cell bunting and the subalpine warbler. But anyway, let's get, I'll just backtrack a little bit to the morning. The house martins, I'm going to have loads of times with the house martins, and I just heard a lot of chatter coming from round the side where I'm having breakfast. Stopped in to see the owl situation. There was a tractor going around making a racket, so it wasn't in its usual place, the long-eared owl. But then I found it in another tree. It was on the other side of the road. So obviously, yeah, the noise just scared it away, but not to the point where it left the area completely. It's still used to human activity, obviously, with all the goings on. And a Chetty's warbler, oh, is that in the sun? A Chetty's warbler dropped its guard. I heard it calling, and I thought, that's really close. It sounded like there was nothing in between me and it. Usually reeds and stuff will muffle the sound, but it was eating a grub of some type and then came up. I couldn't get a straight shot, but I got a sharp shot. Bee eaters, I heard the bee eaters calling, and I got my closest, best exposed shots yet with the sun on it, not too harsh sunlight, close enough that there wasn't too much, what do you call it? I've forgotten the name. My brain isn't working. All right, let's have a little dance and do some body English. Heat haze, there we go. There wasn't as much heat haze as usual. And a couple of them plotted up on this, one of the stabilizing wires. So I went in for a pre-capture flat shot and got it taken off. I'm quite happy with those. They're not frame filling by any means, but they're pretty good. A little bit of rolling shutter in there. And then we get to this point. Yeah, I just put the road mic on so you can hear the surroundings. I'm in this olive grove, just like I said, north of the Raptor viewpoint. And I did see something on the wire. I always check it, even though 99% of the time it's a collared dove, and it was a turtle dove. So I did a bit of film in the 4K crop, which was so unsteady, but just so you can hear it clearly. And then just as I was about to, I've been jumping back and forth across the road because cars keep coming. There's nowhere to really prop myself up. I saw two, and it was just a few seconds I filmed it, and they had a little scuffle, and then they dropped down somewhere. But it's over there calling now. Oh, just up on the northern coastal road, and that water, jeez, just unbelievable. Suddenly there's some birds appearing. Oh, it's the black-eared wheatear, quite vocal. And you've just got this stunning lookout, and then obviously that's Turkey right there. And I mean, we used to see this, I saw this last year from Rhodes, not this point, Rhodes is much further south, but Turkey snakes in and out, and Greek islands are sprinkled in amongst all the sort of big Turkish coves. Now, what I saw when I was coming in, it's got a bit of everything, not great for photography. I've been stopping at trees, and it's been chaffinch, a big tree full of chaffinch, and a single searle bunting flitting about. There's been the yellow wagtails of various sorts, masked shrike, I missed a photo of that, black-eared wheatear, corn buntings. In the water, I just saw it must have been the bird I saw when I got off the plane. I thought it was a cormorant. It's actually a European shag, I assume. I'm not sure if any kind of subspecies. And Sapulpine warbler calling with a little bit of, I videoed it, a little bit of webbing in its beak, good for making nesting materials. So that was a bit of a dead end, that drive I just did. Not much going on after I last spoke to you. It's picking up now. I've stumbled on this little flock of crag martins. I've seen a jay. A jay was making a big racket up there. I couldn't get a photo, but I saw it fly across. The Merlin app also picked it up. There was a rock nuthatch just up there. All of these, I haven't got any close ones of these nuthatch yet. I'm hoping one day, either today or tomorrow, we get one that comes closer down. I was also lucky enough a crag martin landed up there, a bit distant, but then one landed right here, and that's pretty close. That's going to be nice and sharp when I clean it up. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time here and see what else pops out. Still here. I think the reason I like it is because the clouds keep covering the sun, and it's just nice being out of the cab with this lovely light. I mean, there was a point where I was photographing the crag martin when the sun came out, and it did really help with the ISO and getting some nice, crisp, low ISO photos. But yeah, I've been snapping off every time. They come back every sort of 5 minutes and start sweeping round, flying under the road. Some really, really good shots. I was on electronic shutter mode, but then I started getting some rolling shutter and rolling background, the background being slightly distorted. So went to the slower first curtain sync, and I did a bit better. But these two, I wish there would have been some color or rocks behind them, but these two together, pretty much bang on, both of them being sharp. It's fantastic with their beaks open. Really happy with that. I'm having an amazing time here. And yeah, they flew around and they landed in this big rock. I'm just keeping a hand on my camera in case anything goes wrong. Landed on that rock there, perfect for video. So I snapped up some photos, both of them sharp. It looked like a pair, a male and female. Anyway, here's the footage, first in 4K standard and then in 4K crop so I could get in closer. Loads of chaffinch here. I've heard a scops owl over there, every so often calling behind me, and the purring of a turtle dove up in the, well, I don't know, up there somewhere. What else? There's a black-eared wheatear up there. It's been up there for a while. I haven't seen the nuthatch in a while. The first time I saw it was up on the left. Haven't seen it again. Haven't seen the Eurasian wren again. I was hoping it was a subspecies, but apparently Merlin says it's just a standard Eurasian wren. I just passed this random pond on the side of the road heading back. I put in Matochi Lake to head back towards the hotel area and just saw this place and thought, okay, I'll just pull in, get the bins out and scan the edges to see if anything's going on. So drove in from the road, got to about here, was just looking, and then I saw it was immediately my brain clicked a little bit, and luckily I had my settings for flight shots. And I got off a shot, and it's okay. You can see a tiny bit of blur and heat haze, but that's pretty good. And I saw another one. They went into the reeds on this side. So, okay, there's something in there. And I told the group and turned around and came back and sort of, yeah, started moving along here. And a purple heron flew in. Awesome. So from the car, I was able to film it. And just as I started filming, the clouds came over and just diffused the light. So there was minimal heat haze. Excellent. And it just wandered all the way around. I was hoping it might grab a fish or something. It looked like it was always going to do something, like it was looking up the tree, looking over there, but it kind of never went for anything. So it's around now at the other side of the reeds and maybe going for frogs or something, I don't know. And as I was just looking, I saw the shape of something on like a little bit of land in front of the reeds there. And there was a little thing like that. And it was one of the little bitterns. So I fired off loads of shots until one got through the heat haze. It was relatively sharp. And then it took off. And I thought, again, it flew in front of the reeds. So there was nothing from my camera to hunt back and forwards for. So hopefully, even just focusing on the reeds, it would have got the bird. And it did. I've just had a look at the images. Pin sharp. Awesome. One with the wing down, one with the wing up. Yes, just fantastic pictures. Male, I believe that is. And just pop round. I mean, nothing much. Just before I left the last area, buzzard came. I'm always checking buzzards for rough-legged, long-legged, etc. but it was just a stand. It gave me, it was a bit dark, but, and just to mention on the sea, I got some better images, closer images of the European shag in the water. I tried spotting where it went down and then ran onto the beach so I could be down low to get it. So, you know, like the waves are really, really low and the back is clear, but it disappeared. It must have seen me and swum away quickly. And there was some, what's the pronunciation? Eucalan? I think it was shearwater. This is some really dodgy 4K crop, heat hazy, distant, focusing off of this bird. So I put it down as I might have got it in Menorca, so it won't be a lifer, but it'll be just a bit of record shot for a proper seabird. Anyway, right, okay, we're moving on. Oh, that was hilarious. I was talking to a birder today, and I told him I'd gone to the petrified forest yesterday, but it was closing in an hour, so I didn't go in. And he said, "Did you see the little owl? You don't have to go into the forest and pay the admin fee. You can. It's on the outside." And he told me, and I'm like, "Oh, I would have liked to have added that to my list." And on the way down from the north today, just an hour ago, grey wagtail, yellow wagtail. Oh, I thought, you know what? I should start stopping at buildings and looking in my bins at just around the edges and just scanning them and get a little owl. And probably 5 minutes later, I was going through this village. I just happened to look up at a chimney and there's a little owl in the chimney. I couldn't believe the timing. But anyway, yeah, just, oh, there goes a black stork. I was driving along the road here and I just saw some birds, a big flock of them, and I think there's like 10 or 12 grey heron. I also think back, I'm going to have to turn around and go back. I'm going to have a quick look in hide one and just keep you out of the sun there. Hide one and just check the horizon. Well, it was a last minute rush around for all photographers. We're all bombing around the place trying to get the last bit of birds in. Somebody spotted a lesser grey shrike and we found the building where it was, and somebody with a scope was pointing right at it. So was able to get photos from a distance, but it's clear and it's a lifer. And I got a second photo of it with their corn bunting giving it the eye, like, what are you? So that was good stuff. They also mentioned some collared pratincoll, but apparently really distant in the sheepfield, so I wasn't going to bother looking for those. I've got the oriental ones, so I'd like these ones, these European ones. And coming along the road again, remember I said about the spoonbills? Yeah, there was a group of spoonbills, and one nicely had its spoon out while the others were all resting. Eventually I did see them fly onto the pool and land amongst all the flamingos and things like that. And then I got a quick snap off because I thought it was a raptor chasing some small birds, but it was a common snipe with three probably little stint. And where did I go? That was it. To add on to the list, a little ring plover. Heard it calling, and there it was, because I thought that's not a wood sandpiper. So I had to sort of like go through all of them in the sort of lower light and go, oh, there you are. I can see by the way you're walking where they do that kind of walk, 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 stop, walk, 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 stop. So that goes on the list. Thank you very much. I think we're up to 131 species and 31 lifers. And I don't know, a flock of maybe 10 black storks went over, which was, there's no way I was fitting them all in the frame because they were spread all over the place. Even back at 200 millimeters, I can only get sort of 3 or 4 in at the same time. So that's the most I've seen. I remember seeing the first one on the first day and thinking it was a big deal. And let me just get everything in that I can think of. I think, yeah. Came down to the river and let me go back a bit. There'd been a bittern. 2 guys, very happy to see a bittern. I obviously see them at Elmley. I'm very fortunate to live in that part of the world where you see lots of them. So the squacco heron that I normally see over by the Matochi Lake were down here, and I went down to like 100th of a second to get photos of them, and they come out okay. They weren't spooked by my presence, so they're obviously used to all the photographers at the Matochi Lake. Further down, the used bit by the first ford, I've seen the little crake. I tried going up to 10,000 ISO and filming it. I couldn't get a photo at 1/50th of a second. And sedge warblers, and yeah, this little crake moving around, and a black-headed yellow wagtail. But yeah, that's it. The light has completely gone now. I think we're done I couldn't get a picture if I tried. So I just popped into town to get a couple of little touristy presents for my wife, and there was a crowd forming for the barn owl. So set the camera up on a tripod again and tried my luck. Yeah, I sort of stopped about 20 minutes ago when it weren't showing up. It was showing up steadily every 7 to 10 minutes. And I got off some good photos. The best one, the best kind of framed one, was only about 80%, 70% sharp. I'll clean it up as best I can. Wings outstretched with a vole of some type, I think, because it was a short tail. Several of the shots missed the rodent going in. I just caught the top of it. The final one was a mouse, the sharpest one so far. So a little bit of practice there for future reference. And I need to buy myself a little remote trigger because I was using the phone so I could have my hands free. But overall, that was a really good night. I got a bit of practice with that. I've never done anything like that before. So good end to the day. Good morning. It's day 7, my final day. So I'm going to be running around like a headless chicken, listening to the WhatsApp group info, chasing anything that comes up that I haven't got on my list. So just a little beginning to the day. I haven't given the flamingos enough love. I've kind of taken them for granted that they're everywhere. So when I pulled up just on the way to Matochi Lake, where I'm here now, Matochi, I've filmed a bit from the roadside because they're in decent light. The sunlight isn't too strong yet. And yeah, I couldn't see anything else smaller. Usually there'd be shell ducks, common shell ducks and ruddy shell ducks over there. And coming down to the Matochi Lake, a tree with 4 of the black-capped jays in it, which is great because I've been trying to get some sort of record for you to see. I got them really well in roads, so that's good. They're having a scuffle in the tree, which was really nice. And then at the bottom of the lake here, a black-headed bunting singing for me, bold as brass. I was listening to it from behind. I couldn't quite make it out. I went, what is that? And I turned around. There it was. So I took loads of snaps from every angle, trying not to scare it. I was very tempted to get even closer and get some good shots. But I wanted to tell the group, so if anyone hadn't seen it, they could come along. So I kind of drove, when I'd finished, I carefully drove around it. But just before I'd finished all my video and photos, I heard a Chetty's warbler, and then I heard it coming from the tree, and I looked, and a little bird next to it. So I got a Chetty's warbler and a black-headed bunting in the same photo. Awesome. What a great day. And then I have seen the hoopoe fly across there. So black stork, no crakes or anything yet. So I don't know what's going on with those. Okay. I just had the most epic encounter. I don't know how I spotted it. I'll get to it in a second. It seemed a bit dead. I was speaking to another photographer and he said, yeah, it's so quiet, isn't it? Suddenly this flock of bee eaters arrived above our heads. So it's like, oh, I'm going to bother taking photos, whatever. Then they started coming down and splashing into the water like the swifts and the swallows do. And I was, we both got our cameras up and like, see, this is what happens. You doubt a place and it says, watch this. I got a bit overzealous zooming in and I'm a bit angry at myself. I missed way more opportunities than I captured. I got a few bits and pieces that will clear up nicely. But yeah, just if you zoom too far back to get them in the frame, you have to sort of crop in, which is not great. So you kind of zoom in and you forget how far 1280 millimeters is on this lens. So it was over by the time I'd sort of got my act together and started capturing some good shots. But some of those are really nice. And I tried my luck with the swallows coming down. None of these will probably be keepers. They're a bit too distant. It's amazingly difficult to track them. Even when you got them in frame, they suddenly disappear as the frame jumps around. I got a usable Swift photo. I think I'm going to keep this one. There's a couple in there where I remember locking onto it and it the sun hitting the back of it, so it's well lit. So I think I'll keep one of those. And then I saw a squawko heron as I was chasing the bee eaters on an island. So I got a bit closer and it took off, and backlit flight shots, not great. I mean, they're, you know, I can clean them up a little bit. Sometimes backlit works, you know. Hey, chetties, a lot of chetties here. And heard a hoopoo, heard a what are they, cuckoo, heard a cuckoo. And then the last thing was somebody called it out, squawko heron, took off from the other side of the pond in the perfect sunlight. And it was like everyone could just gear up and set their, you know, I had to actually, when I saw it coming, the wings were blowing out the highlights. I had to quickly up the shutter speed to bring it down. And it just bang, 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 as it flew past. And I can select almost every single one of those shots is sharp, and I can take 2 of those out to keep. Really, really nice. Yeah, anyway, so we gave it a bit of time there, and I thought time to move on. It's getting a bit, the day's running on a little bit. I want to go get a coffee. So I'm heading to the village colony for a coffee. There looks like some cafeterias there. And driving slowly, looking over this what is it, a creek, a river? Looking over the side really slowly, little kind of white blob that normally turns out to be a bit of plastic or something. And I thought, okay, stop, reverse back. Whatever it is, it's not moving. It's probably plastic because it would have gone by now. It's a bird. I've got my camera on it. It's a little bitten. And it's so little that I'm actually thinking, do they have least bittens here? It is so small. I mean, look, I saw it. Look, here's what I'm looking at. There's my iPhone camera pointing at the area. See if you can see it. I mean, it's obviously in the center of the screen, but that's all I saw was this white the chest, because it was in bits of sunlight and bits of shade. So the photos, I'm gonna have to work on them to sort of bring down the highlights and bring up the shadows a bit. But I've got some really great video, just filmed and took loads and loads of pictures. And it was chill. It was the tamest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I did go to put it on. I was clocking the tree above it so to give people an idea where it was. And I got distracted by a jay. I haven't had a picture of one of those yet. And by the time I looked back, it started sort of climbing out the reeds and then flew. I went, okay, well, there's no point telling anybody now. But I mean, it's like those moments, isn't it? I mean, the little, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a juvenile. It was so small, crazy. And then a Dalmatian pelican in the distance, managed to go into the 4K crop, and some pretty usable footage there. Better than that one I had at the hide the other day, which made it a lifer. I'd love to get a photo of one, maybe if one comes down lower. The day is still young. I've still got about 8 hours to go. I'm gonna have a coffee, pep me up, and see how things play. That's if today's anything to go by, it's gonna be a completely different day, as every day has been, and I should get some good stuff. I'm at 131 species, 30 lifers. I'm not gonna stress myself. I said 150, just as a sort of, you know, a number, a round number, but I'm not going to panic. There's no way I'm getting 19 species out of this. So I'm happy with that number. That's good enough for me. Well, we've just been hugging the Secneus River. Hope I've pronounced that correctly. I've had to say it several times. I've got it. Secneus. To Secneus River, I believe. Anyway, we've had some good bee interaction. There's a JCB and this dead tree, and they seem to love landing in this tree. Managed to get flight shots, sitting in the olive trees over almost on south of the JCB. The owner pulled up and, hello, how you doing? I'm not stepping on his toes. I've seen a hoopoo flitting about the place, and I just happened to have my camera in the right angle, the right settings, leaning out the window, and it flew past and I got it. I grabbed a shot, bit of a crop, but that's nice with it flying. It's sharp. I'll be able to clean and upscale that pretty nicely. there's a solar farm, small solar farm going down on the right hand side, and I spotted a shrike. Maybe it might have been the lesser grey shrike from last night, but it was I put it through the Google Lens, and Merlin both confirmed it was a redback shrike. Then I saw, obviously I'm not going to the exact location, I saw bee eaters nesting. I've seen this kind of nesting behaviour where they nest. It was building nests, a lot of heat haze, so the camera wouldn't stop sort of bouncing in and out of focus. But it was tapping away. Even I could see other holes. It was tapping away, making a fresh hole. And little Crake at the first ford came out and gave me some. I shot a little bit of footage and I didn't take a photo, which I should have flicked a photo quickly. I thought it looks like it's going to be out for a while, but once I'd finished filming, it zoomed into the reed. So I still haven't got any kind of photo of it, but I've got plenty of footage. I'm happy with that. And then the snipe I made the mistake of on the first day. I've seen it, the common snipe. I don't think anybody else has mentioned it, but it's about 150 meters, 100 meters north of the first ford. Obviously it likes that area. There was a bittern there, right out in the open, little bittern. But after that one, I got up at the Metochi Lake. I didn't even bother filming that one. I just saw at the first ford. And then there was a small bird, smaller than a wood sandpiper. So something looked unusual about it, and I've been trying to confirm whether what I'm getting is Temminck's stint or little stints. Took a picture of this. This did look different to the other stints I've been getting. Taken pictures, I've run it both through Merlin and Google Lens, and it's both said Temminck's. And it definitely looks unique to what I've seen. Obviously, I know some birders now. I'm going to point at, there's a particular one I've been speaking to. Did you get the Temminck's? Did you get the Temminck's? So now I've got it, I can show him, and hopefully he's going to look and go, yep, that's it. And I'm going to go, yes. Right, better do a catch up because the list is getting away from me. We come down to the salt marshes, salt pans. Little tern, first thing we saw was a little tern. Slightly better shots than originally. Just, near the hide number 2. Terrible shot, but big flock of Spanish sparrows. They seem to, the house sparrows seem to hang around houses, and the Spanish sparrows go around in a big flock. Oh, I can just see some white stork out there. I'll get those in a second. They're a bit distant. Yeah, this is, we're getting quite a number of birds today. Today's been good for photography rather than new species. Which one's that? Wheatear? Winchat. I meant Winchat. Female Winchat. Now, it was a bit distant, but because it was on this tree, it made for a good picture. So there wasn't dead space around it. So I took that, and I'll keep that. That's a keeper. And then a crested lark just gave me a layup shot on the fence. So I took it. It was right next to the car, so why not? And then this male Winchat, I've been trying to get it flying for so long. And every time I angle my car round, I lose balance. I go to check something, look up, and he's gone. I've messed it up in so many ways. And then this time, I had it on the fence. I was just aiming right at it, and there was a car coming the other way. So my conscience was clear that I wasn't scaring it off to get the flight shot. I waited, I saw this car coming, and sure enough, the car scared it off, and I got it. And I got 3 really nice shots. The first one in particular is excellent because the wings are out. Really happy with that. And what a beautiful looking bird. The male Winchat is fantastic. Then by hide 3, got common and gold-billed terns. We're getting some really good pictures. Oh look, some flamingos are flying. I wish I'd caught that. See, every time I start filming, things start showing up. But it's good to see the gold-billed terns again. I couldn't get any over by the old pump house. They were coming down and taking drinks of water, but they were flying away from me, which kind of didn't make for good shots, so I didn't bother with that. Common sandpiper in the old pump house. The old pump house was very busy. I'm just going to be overlaying loads of photos now because most of it was, it's a lot to go through here, but just really, 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 really good shots, sharp shots of everything. So first of all, this common sandpiper, I'm assuming it's common sandpiper, very, very tame. Got multiple shots from different angles of him or her. Went in for the wood sandpipers. I've kind of left them alone for most of the trip because there's been so many of them. I thought you can get them on the last day once your list is full up and you're not taking the time. And now I'm trying to get some really good shots. So yeah, filled my boots with those. Plenty of wood sandpipers. The rough that were usually in the further pond with backlit with a lot of heat haze. There were 2 the pump house pond, the closer one, the one you can drive along next to, and again filled my boots with those. I've got to check where that white ring is around one of them. Maybe one's a male, one's female, different plumage, different age. And I took video of those as well, just for my library. Then there was a Temming stint. Now, the one I'd gotten before, and I mentioned, I've had confirmed by other birders said it's definitely a Temming stint. But this one here was even better because it was frame filling. The other one was in the middle of the river, so I had to sort of crop in a bit. But this one's beautifully sharp. And I got it in front of one of the rough, which shows you the size comparison. It would have been nice for an even bigger bird to be there too, but yeah, tiny little bird. Probably the only thing smaller than that would have been like a least sandpiper. Where are we now? Oh yeah, and the photos I got of the curlew sandpiper that were there a few days ago, and I only got some photos of them. There were 6 or 7 feeding here. Backlit, not great, but I managed photos and video. And I knew they were the curlew sandpiper simply because a couple of them were quite red and had definitely the beaks were noticeably more curved. I was putting this all out on the WhatsApp group, letting people know, because I know everyone loves the curlew sandpipers because of the red. And black stork came in, backlit blackbird. I took a couple of photos. One of them probably is going to be sharp. And I think we're caught up now. So there's some bee eaters in front of me. They are grabbing bugs out of the air. There's white stork in that field. I can see flamingo flying. I hope the flamingos might come over my way and I get some flight shots, because some of the ones that are flying are really pink, but they're too distant for anything that's not going to end up with heat haze. Back at Matochi Lake to see if there's anything going on here. I'm going down every dead end, every road up a little hill and coming back down again, any back road, and nothing new, but I've been getting some really good photos. The bee eaters are on par with the ones I got in Faro. I found this section of over by Mesa, the marshes over there, where the bee eaters were kind of hovering in the wind. They were gliding in the thermals, and to the point I could focus on them. And the background isn't white out because they were lower down to the car. So I was able to get all of the color and the shot where they turn into the sun. And yeah, I mean, I did it from the car. I had to sort of watch behind me for cars coming up. Well, the marsh frogs are really going for it. But yeah, they're on par. These photos are on par with the ones I got in Faro. Absolutely spectacular. So really happy with that. It's been, today's just been bee eaters crazy. I mean, every day's been completely different. And I'm just hoping for some last minute, I don't know, owl flying by or something on the marshes over there as well. Black stork. I just managed one shot as it took off from the reeds and then went back down again. Purple heron, adult purple herons there, gave me multiple opportunities for flight shots. Absolutely stunning bird. And because it wasn't against the whiteout sky, it's just, they look fantastic. You couldn't have asked for more. Wow, these marsh frogs. But yeah, the purple heron. I mean, I've got my fill. I think, what was the last time I saw them? In Malaysia, when they were hunting in that reservoir. Fantastic looking birds. And went down this little road like a farm, and I was just looking on the building just in case there were some owls or something. So I put I mean, I was quite close, and with my naked eye, saw the building. I didn't see anything else. And as I put my binoculars up, my bins, which are really clear, sharp bins, even though they're cheap, three wagtails of different colours. I think one there was like a blue-headed, a grey-headed, and I'm not sure if it was a citrine, but I'm not on board with all the plumages. I don't know them all completely, but they seem to hang out in big flocks. There have been several big flocks of wagtails, all different mixtures: black-headed, blue-headed, grey-headed, and yeah, and a greenfinch even landed on the left of one of them. So there was obviously a mixed flock of birds. Marsh harrier, much better this time, hunting along the seafront, the section where the road is nearer to the sea, so it was forced to sort of come in a bit closer. Nothing great, but just sharper than all the ones I've got previously. And I went along this, you can go along this road, along the side of the main road, where you're not hassled by other traffic. And I mean, it looked like possibly there could be birds on the side, but they were just sparrows. Everything was just sparrows. But I'm sure, given the right day, that there could be some shrikes on posts there. And finally went up into the mountains a little bit before turning round, and there was some olive trees with a pipe running through, and it was dripping water. And on those branches, I got a juvenile serin, and I had to look that up on eBird to confirm it. I couldn't quite make out what it was. I sort of knew it was a serin with a yellow side bit. And then the other one, which really got me, was a bunting. Is it a yellowhammer? What is it? What other buntings are there here? And a juvenile searle bunting. Obviously, having a drink here from wherever they're nesting locally around the olive groves. And that was it. There was nothing for the last sort of half an hour. I'm probably going to aim more for the sea end, because I'm going to lose that in about 10-15 minutes, and I'll get more light. I'll get another half an hour out by the sea, and then that'll be, well, it might not be being done. What I might do is, when I drive to the airport tomorrow, if I feel that I've got a little bit of time, I told the car hire guy that I'll be dropping off at 10. So if I'm a little bit early, I'll weave in and out of the back roads and I'll add that on. So at the moment, we've not finished yet, so it's not the final. Well, folks, that is a successful wrap. The little river, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the correct term is, the stream, the creek that runs along the roadside to Matochi Lake, where I got the little bitten this morning, I did the same again just now. I drove along it really slowly, and because the light had gone, it meant everything was nicely diffused. The first thing I saw was a little crake. Now I thought when I hit the brakes, it's going to go, but it went into the reeds. I turned the engine off, reversed back a bit to allow it to walk through, and eventually it did come out, and I just fired away. I filled up my buffer, had to wait for it to stop, and then just kept taking photos. It passed this very surprised looking marsh frog, and I just got my fill. I had to go a bit high ISO, 3200. I could have gone lower, but because it was moving, I needed some shutter speed in order to make sure it was sharp, because it was continuously moving. So after getting literally no shots, except some really slightly unfocused ones at night, nailed it, full on, just filling the frame. Brilliant. The only shame is I didn't get the other ones. I think they're called the spotted crake, and begins with a B, baleen or balliol, something or other. I looked out for that. There was no other movement of crake in terms of crakes. But next up was, I thought, is that going to be a little bitten? And it's slightly bigger, and it was a squacco heron. So fired off loads of shots to get my closest, sharpest, well exposed squacco heron photos, and then flicked a video, and it sort of stood still in the water and kept looking to its left. And I thought, I hope it would grab something like a frog or something coming out, and it never. It just kept kind of looking. But I've got it on video. Looks really nice. and super happy with that. Moved up a little bit more, and the smaller blob and a little bitten, the female. Fantastic, fired off loads of shots. She wasn't afraid either. Nice, super sharp shots, and that lovely diffused lighting, perfect. Got enough of those in Inflictor video and got it creeping through the mud line and the reeds. Amazingly happy with that. Can't believe it. I thought something else is going to come out now that's one of these onesies lifers, but it didn't. But I cannot ask for more than that. And then to round it off, I hadn't got any jet of those J photos. I got a bit of video earlier in the day, as you saw on the tree, but I hadn't got any photos of them. And then I saw them fly across the track from me, and I thought, right, get all the settings ready for flight shots and creep along. And I didn't need to, because it was sat on a fence with some nesting material. Fired off several shots, and I got, right, I've got enough now, let's go for a flight shot. Waited and waited, and it took off. But unfortunately, there were a couple of branchy reed bits in the way, but 2 decent shots, decently okay. I'll take those any day of the week, especially at such low light. Now, that's a wrap. Unless something else happens, I'll put it in at the end. As you know, I drive to the airport. There might be some sort of random owl encounter tonight. I drive to the airport tomorrow. It's kind of quickly get to the airport and then drop the car off and go. Unless there's some crazy raptor thing going on the way and I slam on the brakes, there won't be anything more. Apologies for any mistakes I've made in IDs, in pronunciations, and looking forward to coming back. I'm probably going to do Cyprus next, as opposed to coming here, because I've kind of done, I think I've covered most of the birds here. There's a few odds and ends, but Cyprus will have a lot more lifers for me. Okay? See you next time, folks.